Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel Forceful Anime. Today we are back with a brand new fanfic. Video title: Naruto's future form terrifies Kurama. Dark Naruto Story Part 1. If you enjoyed this fanfic, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell icon for more amazing anime fanfics. And now, let's begin the story. Once upon a time, as the Kyuubi watched in growing horror as its power was drained, massive amounts of its blood-red chakra seeping from its massive body, torn away painfully, only to be absorbed by the small, silent blonde child in the middle of the massive room. It surrounded him in a vicious vortex, creating a miniature tornado of power with its chakra. The Kyuubi roared in agony as its power was stripped from it, but changed to screams as it grew smaller in size as its power deteriorated. Once it reached the size of a horse, it began to glow red with its chakra before taking a humanoid form. As the light died down, the Kyuubi's true form was revealed. Crimson hair, the color of fresh blood, spilled down its back past its thighs where it lay pulled around its kneed form. A large bun lay at the back of its skull, holding much of its hair back. Holding the bun together were two pairs of hairpins. They were 9 in length, and each was tapered to a point much like that of a S-bun needle, while at their opposite ends, small kids' heads sat. Two of them were pitch black in color. The Katsune head's eyes having small red rubies for eyes, while the other two were pure white and held small blue sapphires for eyes, and their colors violently contrasted with one another. The pins were placed so that they crossed one another. The two black pins near the top of the bun, the two white pins placed at the bottom. The crossing created an X shape. The black pins the top points of the X. The white pins the bottom 2 points of the X. While this made one massive X, the individual pins crisscrossed one another as well, creating two pairs of smaller X's. Thought the bun hid this double feature from sight, revealing only the bigger, easier seen X. As the chakra disappeared completely, the rest of its form was revealed. Eyes the color of rubies with pitch black vertical slits for pupils held horror, fear, apprehension, and though it was hidden, slight curiosity. They were outlined in black, the edges thicker and darker, and tapered to a point at their ends. Think of Naruto's eyes after he enters his one-tail mode. Her face was very beautiful with a healthy tan for a complexion and no blemishes. Along her cheeks ran 3 pitch black slash marks similar to that of her host's, though hers were thicker and started at the ends of her cheeks and tapered to a point. Naruto's marks after attaining his one-tail mode. She held an incredible bust around an F up and wrapped tightly around her hourglass figure was a blood-red kimono outlined in gold. While gold marks, 1 foot in length, ran the length of the cloth from its shoulder, chest, waist, and to the ends of her sleeves. However, the kimono itself was stretched to the limits due to her bust size, though it made her all the more desirable. However, despite her beauty, the look on her face was anything but alluring. The horrified look on her face, however, could mostly likely be attributed to not the child she was facing, but the dark silhouette towering behind him. Though her bloodline allowed her massive power and many advantages in battle, her other gift, that of being born with a unique condition, had helped her survive just as well as her bloodline. This gift was that of foresight. It allowed for her to see the future, though it was through small glimpses and only things that would affect her, no matter how much she tried, willing it to be used whenever she desired. The future self of her host, however, terrified her to her very core. It stood over 6.5 foot tall, the Shadokoverate form towering not only over the boy, but even her 6 feet 1 frame as well. Judging from its mass, it was built heavily in muscle, ones that were thick and sleek, designed for speed, but also able to provide huge amounts of raw strength, even when they were compacted. While such features were intimidating, they would never normally give Kyuubi a reason to pause. The many nine featuring pitch black tails fanning out from behind its back, along with the black kitsune ears at the top of its head that made her worried. However, even beyond even Theseus' features, it was the monster's eyes she feared the most. They were a deep, dark shade of crimson, much darker than even her own, and held a pitch black vertical slit pupil in the middle of its eye. Its eyes radiated so much rage, hatred, and bloodlust that she was actually frozen in place. She, the Keilu, no Kitsune, frozen in place by a mere child's possible future self. It was ludicrous. No joy, no happiness, no sign of even a sliver of positive emotion. The only thing his eyes spoke of was death. Death was the small whisper that escaped the child's lips. Death to the traitors. Death to the hypocrites. Death to my father. The blonde whispered, though he spat the father like one would a curse. Death to these bastards for what they've done to me. I won't be their punching bag anymore, the blonde muttered before stopping suddenly. Zero. No. I think it's time this village sees the difference between the Keilu no Kitsune and Naruto Uzumaki, the village sacrifice, he replied calmly. As he lifted his head to stare into Cobb's own eyes, she felt herself shiver at his new appearance. Cold dead Serung eyes with a vertical pitch black slit for a pupils boarded into her own. The three whisker marks on each of his cheeks had elongated and thickened into slash marks and darkened until they were black. Once again, think one-tail mode Naruto's whisker marks. He had a great increase in his muscle mass. His former malnutrition-suffering body now bulked up and covered in sleek, toned muscle. His height had increased several inches, giving him an extra 6 into his short frame, making him one of the tallest children of his age group. His hair had grown out and lengthened considerably, and red chakra solidified at the back of his neck, creating a small red ring that held his blonde hair in a small ponytail at the base of his neck, while in the front it lay spiked up while flowing backwards. Think Virgil's hairstyle from Devil May Cry. And on his forehead a large horizontal line several inches in length was revealed. Ever so slowly the line began to thicken, the spread showing a third eye with a vertical black slit for a pupil and a deep purple color darker than a violet color covered the rest of it. It held no retina or aorta, nothing but purple and a slit splitting the single-colored eye. My bloodline, he absorbed it. But how were Cowby's frantic thoughts at this new development? After all, her third eye, the dragon, was indeed powerful, but it was not a bloodline that normal demons contained. Only those of the Kitsune clan held the bloodline, and even then, only a select, lucky few were able to activate it, let alone use it to its full potential. Any idiot could be born with ultimate power, but if they couldn't use it, then what was the point? Keilu herself knew of only 3 other demons who wielded the dragon's full power effectively. Her parents and fire demon named Haya, who had one transplanted into himself after killing the Kitsune, who had just activated it, were the only others she knew of that held an activated and controlled dragon. Though it seemed she would have to add her container to the list as well. The power he was putting out is terrifying. Even if he was just a child, her own dragon itself had activated, though it was more out of interest than fear. Absorbing my memories and Yuki is one thing, but to be able to absorb my bloodline as well. If this child ever receives proper training, he could become a god amongst shinobi. Hell, he could even surpass me in sheer power, was the realization she came to after the shock of seeing her bloodline activated in a human weight. Oh hell, was all Kelobi could mutter to herself as her mind went temporarily numb and she stared at the new appendages adorning her container. This temporarily mind blanketing could be attributed to the pair of pitch black fax ears with golden tips nestled in the blonde's hair. The other cause of temporary brain failure may have been the 3-4.5 foot long pitch black golden tipped kitsune tails waving gently to and fro behind him, coming directly out of the bottom of his spine near his tailbone. So Kelu came the quiet voice of the young Senbi-3 Kitsune in front of her, jerking Kaubi away from her thoughts and back to reality with a small smile that showed his new fangs, thought it contained little humor, and gave the female demon an ultimatum. You can be free of this seal. You may be out of your cage and allowed free range in my mind right now, but you're not free of the seal itself. I may allow you to roam free and unrestrained, though you will be under my complete control anyway. Or, well, I can kill you now and save myself the trouble of having to deal with you any longer. It's your choice, of course. However, there are certain, shall we say, advantages to being under my care. Kalubi was still somewhat shocked, of course, that her host was even considering to give her such freedom, as the child had every right to kill her. While the deal held merit, what made her actually begin to consider it was his tone. It was calm, collected, slightly smug, and to her embarrassment, a hint of seduction was also present. She narrowed her eyes, however, as there had to be a catch to this deal. Why, though, my container? Why would you give me freedom? After all, I'm a demon, and we can't always be trusted. With slight widening of his smile, the blonde's eyes lit up in slight sadistic glee. Because Kaubi-chan Kaubi felt herself blush slightly at the affection given to her name. I need a guardian, a mentor. I may have your power and memories, thought the majority of it locked away until I'm strong enough to access it and have the experience to use my power to its full extent. That is what I want you for. Train me and be free, or refuse and I'll kill you. Sighing to herself, but chuckling slightly, Kaubi gave her reply with a sadistic grin of her own. As you wish, Naruto-sama, the demon replied with a smug grin. Lifting his hand up, Nar beckoned to Kitsune with his finger. Come to me, Kaubi-chan. With an oath of blood will you be rebound to me. Until death, Kalubi, and in return you shall be given the freedom you have sought from this accursed seal. As she approached him with a sensual sway to her hips, she mentally pouted as he showed no reaction to her blatant flirting. Any other male would have gone into cardiac arrest, and it was impressive that he hadn't even lost a single drop of blood. Regardless of his age, he should have been unconscious from bloodless. Oh well, I'll just wait until he's older. After all, I've never met a male that could terrify me to the point of being submissive. It's making me feel hot. How shall this pact be made, Naruto-sama? The pact that tethers my soul with your own, using the Shikifuin as a pact with a Shinigami. How do you intend to break it? Kelu questioned lightly with a slight smirk. She was intensely curious about what kind of pact could break such a powerful one. Simple, Kaubi-chan, you make a more powerful pact, one that will outweigh the Shinigami's pact. With a small smile, Nar removed his black shirt and then his underarm. Bite me, he replied simply. Why? Why the hell do you want me to bite you? The confused demon growled out in shock before snapping her mouth shut as her container held up a hand to silence her. Right here. This is where I want you to bite. He paused, pointing at the juncture between his neck and shoulder on his right. After my blood is absorbed into your system, a new seal will be used to bind you to me, and it will easily destroy the contract the Shinigami has with my father that is used to seal you currently. Very well, child, Kelu replied. She then sank to her knees, kneeling low enough to look him straight in the eyes, and she searched them for any signs of hesitation. She found none. Moving her eyes down to the blonde's neck, she stared at the juncture that he had pointed out before. Narrowing her eyes slightly, Kelu licked her lips slowly before opening her mouth to reveal her fangs. She then slowly craned her neck down and placed her fangs on his neck before gently piercing his throat with her fangs. Feeling the warm, coppery, and surprising sweet flavor of her container's blood on her tongue, she swallowed it with a small gulp. Immediately after she had ingested the child's blood, all hell broke loose. Kanagaka Hoija's office 5 minutes before Dame paperwork. Sarutobi snarled under his breath. He knew being Hokage was great in all the prestige, the power, the money. But of course, they forgot to mention the Bane of all leaders paperwork. Not only that, but the stacks were growing. He didn't know how, but they were. Oh, yes, they were. Dame Minato, leaving me with the paperwork after he goes off and dies to seal the Kyuubi. The brat did it on purpose. I just know it, he mumbled to himself. As you can see, paperwork can make people crazy. Now, not only was the Hokage pissed off at having to fill out paperwork, but his hangover from the other night wasn't helping matters in any way. Please, please, please. I don't care what it is. Invading foreign shinobi, the apocalypse, monkeys jumping on trampolines, just something, anything. Get me the hell away from this damn paperwork from hell. The Sundom sobbed with giant anime tears streaming down his face until he felt it. Dark bloodthirsty chakra far more powerful than anything he had felt before crashed down onto him. The killing intent alone was nearly driving him to his knees due to its pressure. What the hell is this? I haven't felt something like this since the queue. Oh, by Cammy, please no. The seal couldn't have broken. But nevertheless, I have to find out why this is happening. He thought to himself before jumping out of his window and rushing towards the source of the malicious chakra. As Sarutobi stopped a few houses away from Naruto's home, he watched in shock and horror as a maelstrom of blood-red chakra swirled violently around the child's apartment, kicking up winds and dust and shielding whatever was happening inside. As the aging Cage watched silently, ambush around a single squad of Chunin, who from the looks of them had been in a fight recently, judging from the blood splattered over their underscore, was the only words he could utter as he came to a horrifying conclusion. They had to have attacked Nar and the chakra tornado that had formed that meant the Kyuubi was most likely healing Nar or it was using its Yuki to try and escape its prison. However, as he was about to command Ambu to back him up, the chakra tornado died down and the killing intent all but vanished. Now, however, the chakra had become concentrated, almost as if it was trying to hit itself. Taking a glance at two of his platoon, Kirby discreetly motioned for two of the captains, identifiable by the red ribbons around their arms. One held a white Enu mask and had spiky silver hair, and the other held a white En mask with long purple hair that reached mid-back. As both captains approached, they saluted their Cage and stood at attention, awaiting his orders. Stand down. Both relaxed, but still held the tenseness of a trained shinobi, ready to fight at a moment's pause. What are your orders, Hokage-sama? Both captains asked in unison. Hold yourself in reserve behind me and follow. However, do not, I repeat, do not attack Nar under any circumstances unless I give specific orders. If he's safe but afraid and is using the Kali Chakra on instinct, then I'll calm him down. If the Kali is controlling him, then I'll try to reason with it. If not, then I will try to do what is necessary for this village. Yes, sir. Both Ambu saluted before following their leader as he landed in front of Naruto's apartment door. Quietly opening the door to the youth's apartment, and they found themselves sickened at its condition. Clothing was thrown around. Holes dotted the walls. Canai still lay embedded into the floor and walls mortar. A table was broken in half down the middle. The window to his left was shattered. And to his growing horror, the area was quiet, literally painted with blood, streaks on the walls, splatters at the windows, and there were puddles all over the place, the largest several feet in length, which sat in the middle of his living room. However, it gave him some hope when he saw a bloody foot and handprints streaking towards the child's bedroom. Sarutobi prayed to Kami that Naruto was still alive. As it seemed, even after losing so much blood, he was able to crawl to his room. As the old man crept towards the room's door, He stopped dead in his tracks as a massive chakra signature appeared on the other side of the door, one that far outclassed his own. Giving a signal to his Ambu, he gently twisted the door's handle and pushed it open. The sight that met his eyes made his heart stop in fear. Well, not really evil, per se, but not exactly a bubbling fountain of joy either. He's going to be ruthless in getting what he wants. He's not going to be nice. He kill you just as soon as talk to you. He's going to threaten, bribe, and slaughter anyone that gets in his way. He's intelligent, seen too much of the world's darker side to be innocent anymore. And he's not going to take, from anyone, even if they could kill him in a heartbeat. Not that he's arrogant, just comfortable with his ability to fight and sick of being the world's scapegoat. All the fun stuff that the real nerd should do and deserves to do, but never does because he's too damn nice. This Naruto is going to be one hell of a badass nightmare to a lot of people. And I mean a lot of people. Just how strong is Nar going to be? Well, it will take him a while, over a decade and a half. But he will eventually be able to outclass even Kyuubi herself. This is not an instant god mode Nar. This is a Nar who has trained hard and has earned his power. Also, no, he is not going to travel dimensions. There may be an item world where he can train. Not sure if I'll put it in though. He will visit May, the demon world, and the nations laying outside the elemental countries, but that's about it. How old is he? 6. After his training trip is done, a little older than 21. More on this trip will be explained as the series progresses. Like this chapter. Yes, this means he will leave the village. I feel sorry for the idiots who will get in his way. Insert evil laugh. Sorry about the laugh. Couldn't help myself. For who's in the harem? There will be no Nar x Sakura. End of discussion. I don't like her. She was too much of a to Nar in canon. So I don't think it would be healthy for him to have to deal with her. Also, there will be no Yaoi. So fangirls asking for it. Stop pestering me. You're not going to get it. For the Naruto Kyuubi pairing, several people are wondering why they're so friendly with one another. Like he calls her Chan and she calls him Sama and they don't hate each other's guts. He uses Chan because she's close to him and always has been. It's more of her being sealed in him than actually affection. Well, for now anyway. For Kyuubi, she calls him Sama Master because of her respect for him. I can't think of any kids that have the guts to threaten a demon with death, especially when this particular one is the strongest of its kind. She sees that as strength and respects it. For the rest of the harem's choices, I guess I'll let your fans have it. All of the Naruto females characters will show up eventually in the story, which includes the filler arcs and movies. Also, be warned, there will be several characters that will have become Oak. Look up Anshasai to get a feel to what a female versions of certain males in the series would act like. It's really funny. Also, Haku will be female in this story. Even if the anime and manga said Haku was a guy, the looks in the voice say he was a chick. So, that's how it's going to be. It's fanfiction, so if you don't like a female Haku, well, too bad. How do you like them apples? They're good covered in caramel, aren't they? Also, if there are any male characters from the various animes, games, or movies you want to suggest for part of the story, feel free to ask for them as OCs turned into girls. I might be funny, maybe. This bears looking into. Also, once again, any female characters from other series like the ones I've stated or ones you want to show up, feel free to request them in your reviews. Not that you have to or anything. I'm not forcing you to read this story. For your viewing pleasure, I'll put a poll at the bottom where those lucky females that have been chosen by you, my readers, to be put in the harem. Just send me who you want. If one of your characters is already there, then perhaps request with their use in the story it will make it easier on me. Really, I think may sigh speech. Go jump off a cliff. You are taking up my valuable oxygen with your incessant yelling thoughts. If you choke a smurf, what color will it turn? Demon speech. I hate you, brat. Demon thoughts. Why am I talking to myself? Technex Jutsu. Super flashy destruction. No Jutsu. Locations time. Wherever I want, whenever I please. On with the story. Last time since I gave you guys a cliffhanger and most likely pissed off quite a few of you. As the old man crept towards the room's door, he stopped dead in his tracks as a massive chakra signature appeared on the other side of the door, one that far outclassed his own. Giving a signal to his Ambu, he gently twisted the door's handle and pushed it open. The sight that met his eyes made his heart stop in fear. An incredibly beautiful and attractive woman with blood-red hair sat in a kneeling position. A crimson kimono with gold highlights wrapped tightly around her body, both showing off her curves and an incredible bust, one that could easily beat that of his former student's chest, and it highlighted her hair and red eyes. It was opened slightly at the front, giving a good V shape that revealed some of her cleavage. A thick black choker, though it looked more like a dog collar, was clasped around her neck, and a pure white chain was attached to its front while trailing down several feet to the floor before snaking its way up her right thigh and into Naruto's small hand. The child himself was seated on her lap, snuggled securely against her body, the back of his head resting comfortably on her. She had her arms wound around his neck in a comforting manner, as if both protecting him and to show affection. Naruto's unoccupied left hand was resting on her other thigh, slight stroking the fabric of her kimono, while his new ears twitched each time the woman's breath caressed them, and 4.5 foot long pitch black tails with gold tops sprouting from his back were curled around the woman's waist. Sarutobi was apprehensive about Naruto's new changes. But the blood-red kitsune ears with gold tips and the 9 lengthy red tails with gold tips fanning out from the woman's back scared him a hell of a lot more than Naruto's new appendages. As Nar calmly gazed at the rapidly paling Hokage, a small glint made its way to his icy slitted blue eyes as he calculated the odds of himself and Kaobi surviving now that she was out of the seal. However, a sudden thought came to him, and a devious plan began to manifest in his brain at how he could use the situation to his and Kaobi's advantage. Hey, old man, startled out of his thoughts, said old man glanced down at Naruto's face and began to sweat at the look on his face. He was frowning slightly, but it was scaring him more than he would readily admit. Part 1 complete. Next part 2 tomorrow.